Ashanti nation, there was a disagreement among the members of the Ashanti government at Kumasi on how to go about this. In 1900, she led the Ashanti War, also known as the War of the Golden Stool, against the British Empire. The Ashanti-British War of the Golden Stool, also known as the Yaa Asantewaa War, was led by Queen Mother Nana Yaa Asantewaa with an army of about 5,000. During the fighting, Queen Yaa Asantewaa and 15 other closest advisors were captured, and they too were sent into exile to the Seychelles. Her dream for an Ashanti independence from colonial rule was realized on 6 March 1957, when the Ashanti Protectorate gained independence as part of Ghana. Ghana was the first African nation in West Africa to achieve this feat. She was a successful farmer and mother, an intellectual, a politician, a human rights activist, a queen, and a war leader. Nana Yaa Asantewaa died in exile in the Seychelles on 17th October 1921.
Dry over wherever you are in the country. You know how geography is. From time to time it's raining in Lagos, southwest of the country where we're broadcasting from. But without further ado, well, this morning our guest later on will be Ahmed Buhari. Ahmed Buhari is the vice presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress. Of course, you know, so we were going to talk to him, and we still will be. The battle for National Assembly top jobs. You know that this is a recurring subject. We were on it yesterday, also took in your input. But just before then, the news, which is going to be, you know, pleasing to a lot of people, just looking at the front page of The Nation here, INEC, you know, this hammer, you know, the wreck is the way they quote it, the wreck, and CP as court holds Binani. That might seem like a code, but of course you know all of that. There's this whole problem about the resident electoral commissioner, Mr. Ari, in fact, Barrister Ari. You would have thought he should have known better. So INEC is not having it. INEC has declared it void, and now everybody's asking for, well, when I say everybody, in particular the opposition, but I imagine that INEC also will be looking in that direction, that that gentleman needs to be prosecuted. Even a commissioner of police that was said to be have been in the vicinity, how nothing was done at all, you know, that's, you know, what we will be, that's the big thing. So we'll open the phones because that's a subsidiary subject to just get your comments in on that. Fintiri has indeed been declared as the Adamawa governor-elect. And Madam Binani, the APC candidate, that's her nickname, Binani, she has refuted stories that are making the rounds on social media that, you know, 2 billion naira was paid. She said, just looking at it here, I didn't pay 2 billion naira to bribe. You recall that this is the lady who, you know, following the, how does one put that? The bogus, let me just say, following the bogus declaration that she had won the election, had quickly done, you know, an acceptance speech. And, but all of that was to be voided as soon as INEC itself in the headquarters got wind of it and so pronounced that it stands null and void, and they had, you know. So there still is hope. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what went down, but no doubt there will be investigations and all of this. Hopefully we shall get to know what happened, but it doesn't matter what party, whether it was APC, whether it was not APC, everybody, for example, Yakub that usually calls in, Mr. George, Reverend Dominic, all those people, you know, faulted the whole mess, quite frankly. In fact, as we speak now, Mr. Yakub has called in again. Good morning to you, Mr. Yakub.
Yeah, Yori, good morning, sir.
Fine morning to you.
It is better late than never. And I'm very happy that the right thing has been done. Yes, some of us, we are sympathizers of APC. Partially, we participated in our own locality here because of the love we have the party. And then we believe that the party is going to give good governance. That's why we came to that party. And then I believe, now that the right thing has been done, they should not just let it go like that. The person that perpetrated this evil, in presence of the quote and unquote, I heard that he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer that's supposed to know more than somebody, some of us, and then go ahead and did what he did. I think if the punishment is supposed to be 10, being a lawyer is supposed to have it, let it be 90%. And then it's supposed to be stuck to that very particular man. Because imagine what if the man says that he was not even let us know how they got the figures. He just said that Dinan has won the election and then has declared. Meaning that nothing we can do. And then in fact, the credibility of this last election that we all of us know that have been participated with his fellow party. Up to this moment, I've never seen an election that is clean like this. But the man just gets that very particular election. But now the right thing has been done. The Binani, if Imani is not okay by the report, he should head to the court.
Indeed.
Go to the court. Yes, we are an FCC. We want her to be won and declared as the governor of that state. But she should
the
go
right way.
to the court of law.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. There's only one way into office, and that's through the front door. And Nigerians seem to be saying that they will not stand for any kind of appearance of trying to use a back or a side door. The moral door to use, of course, is the front door, so to speak. And, it's good that we have this, we could continue with that, but I just wanted to touch base on that indeed the matter is seeing resolution. Well, we should be, let's be careful and hear from all sides of the story. I don't know. We saw what happened. Mr. George has called in. Good morning to you, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. Uncle Yori, let me just go straight to the point. Yesterday I tried to reach you, but I couldn't. The issue is this. I've always insisted, Uncle Yori, that wherever there is an action, there is always a reaction. The only thing I have seen happening at Adamawa State is the lady was not well advised on how to resist the injustice and outmuzzling that was done to her. It has now put her on the side of an offender instead of the person that was offended. Don't forget, when the initial result was being collated, there was this issue from Fafori local government that took 3 days. She obviously had evidence that she won there, and that she was cheated there. That is where, if I were one of her advisors, that's where she should have struck and protest. That edge of 3,000 votes that was given to her opponent was never there.
Well,
but
again,
she allowed that one to go away. For this subsequent one, that one has eclipsed her own case. But that is over. She shouldn't have gone ahead if you cannot take action at the right time to come and take action at the wrong time when the case is already
greater depth later on, but we'll have to leave it there for now. The matter seems to have been righted. Fintiri is indeed Adamawa's governor-elect, and Madam Binani has said that she never paid 2 billion naira bribe to anybody. Okay, all that to one side for the moment, and on to what I told you before, that our guest this morning is Ahmed Buhari. Mr. Buhari was the vice presidential candidate of on the books, for record, for history. He still is. That's the way it's going to be. But of course, you know that APC won the election, and Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be sworn in. He has been declared and will be sworn in on the 29th of May. But Mr. Ahmed Buhari, Vice Presidential Candidate, African Democratic Congress, and is here. He's a consultant in the oil and gas sector, and we're delighted to have you. Good morning to you, Mr. Buhari.
Uncle Yori, good morning. It's good to be here.
Much, sir, for making time for us. Well, we wanted to sort of, sample your mind, pick your brains on the battle for National Assembly top jobs, and hear what your perspective is. As you know, there are all sorts of combinations out there, ranging from, if you look at the Senate presidency, there are a lot of people who are saying that maybe that's going to, southeast or something like that. The House of Reps, that's going somewhere else. What are your thoughts on how you would go, how we should be going in the interest of effective governance and equity in the polity?
Thank you for having me. I think, like you said, indeed, the presidential election has been won and lost. We've got Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president-elect. It was a contest we all participated in, and I do remember very clearly that about a week before the election of the presidential election, we did mention very clearly to Nigerians that indeed Tinubu was the man to beat. We also did not clearly throw our towel in the ring, but we made very clearly to Nigerians that we do not see victory in sight. And if anybody wants to beat Tinubu, they would have to all align to create that momentous force that could actually give them the victory collectively against the APC. Most of them felt they were going to win on their own, and they still went ahead. But clearly, it was a race between APC and a divided PDP. Because when you look at it critically, every other contestant on the other side, especially the major ones like the Labour Party and the NNPP, were all breakaways from the PDP. There was absolutely no way they could actually come with a splitted vote and create the impact that they were hoping to create. Once again, Asiwaju sort of showed the country that indeed he is an ostrich politician because he campaigned in the areas where he knew he was the weakest. And we clearly saw that for everybody who was actually paying attention, he moved to the north. He made sure he won the north. He made sure he garnered the support from the north. He became so popular in the north that even the northern candidates were struggling for recognition. I think those are things you should respect. We had other contestants in the race who decided at that point that they were going to focus on their already strongholds, where they knew they were going to get the votes anyway. But I guess they felt comfortable contesting or campaigning in those areas. Again, Asiwaju beat most of us in that regard. And so when you look at it critically, 70% of the support of the votes that Asiwaju really got at that election really came from the northern part of the country, precisely the northwest. And if you look at the votes that every other contestant even got, whether the PDP, who would boast about 80% from the north, the NNPP, who would boast of about 98% from the north, and the Labour Party obviously got most of its votes from the south. You would want to advise Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who I know that I've spoken to some of my friends, the APC, who have clearly said that they do not think that Bola Ahmed Tinubu would want to interfere in who emerges as the Senate leader or the Speaker of the House, and that it is in his own political nature to ensure that due process is followed. But if we would have to advise from a political perspective, I think it's important for us to understand that we definitely need competence, first of all. We definitely need a true politician, and we definitely need somebody that the entire House can listen to, work with, only for the progress of this country. And just like what we experienced during the 8th Assembly, where indeed we saw a lot of leaders of the National Assembly going at loggerheads with the executive, I do believe that they're there to checkmate each other, but in the long run, they are supposed to work together for the benefit of the Nigerian people. It is my hope that the political calculation, which is what we're supposed to be focused on, is to see that indeed the Northwest that brought the biggest bulk votes to Bola Ahmed Tinubu should be considered at a time like this with regards to how you want to maintain the strength within the party. And also, I'm a politician, and what we do mostly is to look ahead and say, after the next 4 years, where are we going to be getting that bulk vote that we have not mismanaged or mishandled in such a way that we do not have control over that bulk vote? And again, it still falls to the Northwest. So it is my honest, sincere advice that contestants or for the office of the Senate President, for example, should really, you know, from the Northwest, should really gear up at a time like this, present themselves before the National Assembly and the Nigerian people, and hopefully some opinion molders like we see around could actually speak about these things from an objective point of view with regards to how well the polity can favor the ruling party and Bola Ahmed Tinubu in particular.
You know, you said earlier that Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Democrat that he is and all of that, might not really want to interfere in the quote-unquote internal affairs of the National Assembly. But you recall that we had that experience when the sitting president, Muhammadu Buhari, had said something similar. And as you recall, there are a lot of politicians and political analysts who were to come back and blame Buhari for Saraki becoming the Senate president. So it was an idealistic position that, no, I'm the president, it's a separate town, the separation of powers, you people do what you need to do. In the light of that experience, because there were a lot of complaints when, you know, Senator Bukola Saraki became the Senate president, do you think, are you still, are you happy with that stance that Tinubu, being the Democrat that he is, might not want to interfere? I don't know that interfere is the right word, but maybe engage with colleagues from there.
I like your choice. I like your choice of word. I think he should engage. I think he should take charge. We saw what happened with Muhammad Buhari and how he managed and struggled to maintain unity and, of course, collaboration with the 8th Assembly. It didn't go too well. So that is why I said I've been hearing that people have been saying that he doesn't intend to interfere because of his democratic nature. But I'm saying very clearly that he does need to show some level of control at a time like this. He needs to let the people understand that if we want to go very far, then maybe we should work together and have this engagement with all regions clamoring for the leadership of the Senate, for example, to say, let us work together and see how we can progress collectively. Because at the end of the day, I think for lawmakers, the primary concern should be that they are a representative of the people and not for themselves, which is why I keep saying that at every point in time, there should be true engagement with the constituencies, with the stakeholders, ensuring that more than anything else, they are working towards an harmonious collaboration to see that the Nigerian people at the end of the day are the true first beneficiaries of this democracy. But in that same light, it's important that we must recognize that these people, at the end of the day, these people that we have put in there, if they are unable to work together with the executive and hopefully with the judiciary, they will not be able to provide those policies, those action plans that we would have to send to the civil service structure that we'll be hoping would see that all of these plans and policies designed by the three arms of government get executed. So that
what you have said, that look, by your analysis, and by your analysis really, no need to overlabor the point, the Northwest, you wouldn't be surprised if the Senate President were to be zoned or it were to come from there. I wanted to ask your thoughts on how about the Southeast, because as you know, there's been a lot of talk in that direction. We need to, see what we can do so that everybody has a sense of inclusiveness, whatever other rationale that you might have heard. Your thoughts personally on the idea. You've explained why to you it would be the Northwest. But what do you think about those agitations?
Yeah, I think very, very strongly that for the sake of national unity and representation, I would love to see the Southeast as a Southeasterner as a Senate president. But again, when we look at these things, sometimes you're also looking at them from a perspective of the politics itself. You know, there are emotions, there are sentiments that we actually like to cling to when we make all of this analysis. But again, we would also be very careful because Bola Ahmed Tinubu should also be thinking, if I make a Senate president from the Southeast and I lose some of the trust or political strength that I've built in the Northwest, how would I face them in another election cycle, knowing fully well that the reaction from the Southeast hasn't quite shown that they will be willing to vote Bola Ahmed Tinubu should another election cycle come. Now, so it will now look as if you have indeed satisfied your sensitivity around what the people might say, but in the actual sense of it, politically, you have lost grounds. So these are critical areas that people should actually pay attention to. I'm from the North Central. I would have loved to see the Senate president emerge from my zone, but I'm just being realistic with regards to how you can move your politics forward.
As you said of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, that if you were to try to pander to the sentiment of what people might think, what would make people happy, I don't know that he's going to do that. I mean, the man did come up with what has been referred to as a Muslim ticket. And everybody was saying that, that is suicidal, that will never work. And all. But he's a man after his own mind, and it did work. So I doubt that the man is going to go in that direction. But when it comes to how about of course, the Senate president has to have, staying in the House of Reps, I mean, the Senate for the moment, we'll go over to the House of Reps perhaps. But how about the Deputy Senate President?
Yes, this is a good chance for, the Southeast. I think the way the Nigerian politics works, and nobody should feel bad about what I'm about to say, we have a huge number of voters from the northern part of the country, and this is due to a lot of factors. Whether you want to look at it from the social, religious perspective, where we do not believe that restricting family growth should be an agenda. When you go to the north, you see a lot of people who have, this is about numbers, you always have to come back to the fact that that number is what you're actually looking for, and seeing how that number can help you achieve what you want to achieve. It has nothing to do with anything about superiority or a region feeling like it's better than the other region. No, it is about politics. And when it comes to politics, everything every politician is looking for is the numbers. So I'm going to say very critically that if you look back in history, especially after the Nigerian Civil War, before the Nigerian Civil War, as a matter of fact, there was a very good cordial relationship between the northern part of the country and the eastern part of the country. As a matter of fact, Ahmadu Bello and Nnamdi Azikiwe were like the best of buddies. And on the other side was Chief Awolowo. And after the war, after the Nigerian Civil War, that brotherhood between the north and the east was a bit tense. And that was why when Murtala Mohammed was assassinated, the North came together to pick somebody that felt they could trust. And they picked Obasanjo at that point in time, former President Obasanjo. And the reason for picking President Obasanjo was because they were hoping that President Obasanjo would hold on to power and see how he can run his space and give the power back to the North. Stage one, he passed. He gave the power back to the North. The North emerged, as a matter of fact. And then I remember we had all of this brouhaha about the election was rigged and what have you. After we went through the military era again for many years, we came back to 1999, and the North had to pick somebody they felt they could trust again. And because of what had happened in 1979, they picked Obasanjo again. Now, Obasanjo managed the space for 8 years and still passed power back to the North. This is a history of almost 25, 30 years that has also regained the trust between the North and the West. And I can tell you very clearly, that relationship between, or that covenant between Obasanjo and some elders from the north is what has made the Southwest a better friend to the north today. Things do not just happen. People build relationships, and people work on those relationships to move forward, which is why my advice would be that I'm hoping that a Southeasterner would work really hard right now, hopefully to become the Deputy Senate President only so that the Southeast can be seen in the forefront, and we can build that relationship, we can build that trust, and see how we can let the people in the North know that, look, those days are yesteryears. This is a new generation, and we need to move forward. Sometimes when I speak about this, people say, you know what, people are refusing to let go of what happened in 1966 or the Civil War. But let me tell you something, even in a state like the United States of America, it took them almost 200 years after their Civil War before a Southerner in the United States could emerge as a president. Now, this is food for thought. I don't want us to get that long. The right things have got to be done, especially as it concerns how to harmonize all of those gaps right now. It has to be a process. It does not have to happen immediately. And I'm hoping and praying that we must shift aside sentiments, emotions, and all of those distractions and see how we can build this trust towards achieving a lasting solution among all regions of the country, not necessarily the North or the West, but the North, the West, the East, the South, and the Middle Belt, and everybody. And then in that process, we can alienate religious differences, social status differences, and focus on true governance that will actually give dividends of democracy to the Nigerian people.
All right, then. Well, thank you very much. Our guest is Ahmed Buhari, Vice Presidential Candidate of African Democratic Congress. We'll go on a short break now. We'll be right back. We'll continue the conversation. And as usual, we'll open the phones for you to call.
All in favor, say aye. Those against, no. The ayes have it.
What do you know about the legislature, its role in governance, and as one of the three arms of government? Lagos Parliament is here to bring it to you as it is. Here to bring you every detail you need to know about the legislature in Africa's most populous city. On Lagos Parliament, you get a chance to meet the lawmaker of the week. Events are critically reviewed. You can also observe plenary in Yoruba language. I am Abimbola Agbebi. Join me every Friday at 9 p.m. as I take you through the activities of the legislature.
Okay, welcome back. And as I was saying, Ahmed Buhari, Vice Presidential Candidate of African Democratic Progress, is our guest this morning. And we're looking at conjectures, permutations for top jobs in the National Assembly. And he's, voiced his opinion. He's also given us some rationale for why he, all the, workings. The Northwest would be the most deserving in terms of their participation in the victory of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even though we're saying that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as the president and a different branch of governance, should not necessarily interfere in how things go. But I said that, look, maybe interference is not the word, engaging perhaps. And Mr. Buhari said, yeah. He goes with that engaging. I like the engaging. But I hear that I have a caller on the line straight away. Is that from Accra, Ghana? Is that Mr. Lukman?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Lukman in Ghana.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
I'm listening to my brother, and he has made some good points. We should be very careful in that country. We are done with the election. The next thing is governance. And governance has to include the National Assembly and the executive. And we need to bring everybody together. I don't think the North should contest for the seat of the Senate President. That should be between the Southeast and the South-South. Let's be very careful about what we are doing in that country. President Buhari had a lot of votes from south, from northwest and northeast. 3 times he couldn't make the president. So we need to appreciate every vote from every region. Our focus now should be how everybody will be happy in that country. If Mr. A couldn't get president, couldn't get vice president, let the other regions to get to make president so that we'll be able to combine and everybody will know that they've been represented. Now we need a Nigeria that will work for all of us and that will make the government so easy for Asiwaju to achieve. Nigerians are going through a lot. The insecurity, the problem of electricity, people sleeping in darkness, but that is slavery. So we appeal to my northern brothers that yes, you have done well, you have stood with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but you should look at how the government will be so easy for Asiwaju for him to succeed as a president. If they not really love Asiwaju, they should leave the Senate president and focus on the Speaker of House of Reps. So please, I'm appealing to them. They deserve it. Everybody from every part of Nigeria deserves the Senate president. But let's look at the equity and the fairness. May God bless the Republic of Nigeria.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Lukman, for calling in. As you recall, well, I don't know, Ahmed Buhari had said that everybody knows, you don't have to be a politician to know that it's a game of numbers. But then we have Mr. Lukman calling in and explaining that, look, we still have a country and everybody must have a sense of belonging. How would you comment on that? Because it's a truism. Everybody needs to have a sense of belonging. It is also a truism that politics is a game of numbers. And politicians, when they do work, they actually like to eat as well, to use the crude analogy, work and eat. So we worked. So how would you react, Mr. Buhari, to that sort of another plank? Say, look, whatever you want to say about it, we have a situation, impossible as the notion might sound, where you're going to make everybody happy. That hardly ever happens in life. But that was Mr. Lukman's submission.
Yes, I got you there, Uncle Yori, and I really appreciate Lukman for calling and actually expressing his views. And to be honest, I share his viewpoint, I share his sentiments, and from the way he spoke, you could tell that it was based on sentiments and emotions, which is actually valid, especially when you want to activate your emotional intelligence to see how the people would, come together to work with you. I think it's important for us to understand something. I did say, maybe I spoke too fast, I said about competence, I did speak about experience, and I did speak about knowledge of the assembly itself. And when you're looking at all of these things, you're also looking for members in the Senate who have been there for a couple of times. And there's nothing wrong when you find speakers, when you find National Assembly members who have been there for a while. Their job being there is not just to actually understand what it takes to progress the National Assembly. So again, we could have a National Assembly today where maybe on the ruling party's level, the highest ranking senator has been there for just 4 years. And you want to put it side by side, a senator from the Southwest that has been there for about 4 times or 5 times. Definitely the experience level is different. Definitely the ability to control or carry the house together is different. When you go to the northwest or northeast, you find senators like that who have also been there for a short time or a long time. What I am saying is, our job is to look at all of those indices that I've just mentioned to help us, to guide us towards ensuring that we are picking the right candidates. Not just because we are sentimental about it, but because at the end of the day, Yori said something that is very pertinent. He said, we need to understand that it's about governance. And I want him to understand that if it's about governance, then you need all of these facts to be checked first, or all of these boxes to be ticked first, for you to now decide if indeed the persons you are looking for from these different regions actually fit into the space that you're trying to push them in. Not necessarily whether they're from the north, the east, or the west, but also on the competence level, on the experience level. All of these things come with a package. And I'm sorry that sometimes when we speak, we focus too much on where we're from or our religion rather than focus on the nitty-gritty, which of course has to do with the competence.
Okay. Mr. Mohammed in Abuja, thank you very much for holding on. Good morning to you, sir. Go ahead now.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
Yeah, and then good morning to your guest, Mr. Buhari.
Yes.
I quite agree with his analysis, and I will come with another point, because he talked about the confidence that was built between the North and the Southwest. That is quite agree. That is the main germane issue. Now, the situation now is the Northwest is going to finish their presidency 8 years by end of the May. Justice and equity, Buhari said that there is a trust between Southwest and North, the whole North zone, northern part of Nigeria. Let's keep that trust. Let's build it, and then trust again with South. We have trust with them. Let's consider them. Let's consider South-South so that equity and justice will continue. Let's consider South-South and give them this Senate president now.
The South-South?
Yes, South-South, yes, not Southeast. Southeast, they can remain like that. We don't need them.
No. We need everybody.
No,
we need everybody, Mr. Mohammed. I mean, we can have this conversation, but everybody is valuable.
No, we don't need them. Let them go.
Well, thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Mohammed. Really, you really took my breath away, but I think it does need to be said that you know, we're all one. We need everybody. We're all different, but we do need everybody to contribute. But since you're going to have only one Senate president anyhow, I guess it will get to some crinkly places where it is a bit difficult. But there is. Now, let me spend. I have a little time left, and whereas you've already told me how you see it from the point of view of the the Senate, how about the House of Representatives? Just for the moment, going with what you've said, well, not considering that that's the way it will go, but going by what you've shared with us, how about the House of Representatives when it comes to that office? It's another top-ranking office.
Yes, the House of course, it's a top-ranking office. Of course, as far as I'm concerned, it's at par with the Senate. There's nothing the Senate can achieve without the House of Representatives. Likewise, the House of Representatives cannot achieve anything without the Senate. Even if I think there are multiple functions going on there, that's a subject matter for another conversation. I listened to Mr. Mohammed, and I would like to go back to him because I will need us to stop this sort of positioning on how we feel about any region or any individual for that matter. A contest has been won and lost. We had contestants from every part of the country, people who felt they could actually contest in this election. And by all means, I respect all of them. By all means, I applaud all of them. In 2019, I did contest for the office of the president. I know exactly what it takes out of a human being. I know exactly what it takes from a human being to put into the race, into the assignments. In 2023, I did emerge as Dumebi Kachiku's running mate. And by all means, it wasn't a tea party. It was a lot of work. We did a lot of work, but of course, some people did more work than us, maybe, or some people got more recognition than us based on where they're coming from, how long they've been in the space, you know. So all of these things are very important for us to understand. And so if anybody thinks that the Southeast made a decision for themselves to vote certain candidates overwhelmingly or not, it's their right. They have every right to do so. If the Southeast feels a little suspicion about whether the North likes them or wants to work with them, then we need to do things or put things in place that would mitigate all of those spaces and let them see that we are one people. He said other things, though, like he would like to see a South-Southern emerge. Of course, that would be interesting. Then whoever is the top-ranking South-Southern in the Senate from that region, put him side by side with top-ranking guys from the other regions, and let's see who's got more competence, more exposure, more control over the House, because you will be very sad if you have a Senate president that his other colleagues do not respect. Talking about the House of Representatives.
Sorry, Mr. Buhari, before you go, I just want to thank you specially for what you've just finished saying. Ahmed Buhari, the vice presidential candidate of African Democratic Progress, distancing himself from the comments of Mr. Mohammed, who called in from Abuja. It was a bit flippant, and it wasn't in the best of taste, let it be said. And I just thank you for going back there and saying that, count me out of those kind of sentiments. Everybody is important. Everybody is needed. And so that flippant comment, neither does TVC identify with it, and I'm happy to hear you say that you totally dissociate yourself from a derogatory remark that was made. But in the meantime, I have Lanre in Abuja, who has also called on. So before you continue, Mr. Buhari, let me go to Lanre in Abuja. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Yes.
And my regards to your guest there.
Yes.
The problem of Nigeria now is volatile and fragile. Fine. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president-elect. He should not, in my own opinion, should not just stay aloof, because the Nigeria situation now is fragile and volatile.
Even though it's a separate arm of government.
Yes. The task ahead of Asiwaju is very huge and demanding. And a lot of people believe that it's coming to right the wrongs in Nigeria. You see, if he doesn't perform well, they will look at it that, okay, the big Yoruba people have been shouting this and this, he has failed. Now, the issue of in Nigerian politics today, we have religion coming up. If we are saying we want to give it to maybe Northwest, definitely it will become a Muslim again. You say, Nigeria want to be Islamized. So in my own opinion, I will give it to the Southeast, but the problem at hand is that, is the Southeast ready to work with Nigeria? Because they are not in tandem with what is going on in Nigeria.
Well, I wonder, I'm a bit concerned with that statement question. Is the Southeast ready to work with Nigeria? We have heard the leaders say time without number that they are,
Let me explain my...
Okay, please, go ahead.
You see, Nigerians like me and some other people want the Southeast to be in the right position. After all, Nigeria we believe it's a tripod: the North, the Southwest, and the East. So now, the Southeast...
The minorities will complain about that tripod, as you know.
There is just of recent that one is... We know that the Southeast have a long chunk in the Southeast. So, in my own opinion, we should give the Senate president to the Southeast so that we can balance Nigeria.
Okay.
Because automatically, you become a Christian. A Christian. Then we now, the issue of religion will be addressed.
Okay, you know what? Thank you very much for calling in, Larry. I really appreciate your call. And we're fast running out of time. In fact, the producers are terrorizing me here, saying that I have less than 2 minutes. So let me quickly come back to you and bring one of the points of Larry to you, Mr. Ahmed Buhari. If it were to go your way, then we'll have a president who is Muslim, we'll have a vice president who is Muslim, we'll have a Senate president who is Muslim. How do you feel about that, in closing?
I think indeed we should progress as a people and look beyond all of those lines. We did see something that happened in Nigeria in 2023 during the presidential election that really has put me in a very uncomfortable position. And before now, there's always been this talk that indeed you need the support of the South, the East, the West, the Middle Belt, and every other person to win an election. Well, Bola Ahmed Tinubu now played the joker. He picked a Muslim from the North to become his running mate amidst all of the negative comments. And he won the election. And so what that has done to those people who created a divide to say, okay, it's going to be a southern versus a northern contest or a Christian versus a Muslim contest, is that we have now sort of made it look like the North can decide to do whatever they want to do, pick somebody from Maiduguri and pick somebody from another side of the North or pick another Muslim and still win an election. I'm praying that we must look beyond those lines and say, it doesn't matter if it is Shetima he picked, it doesn't matter whoever he picked, we just want those dividends of democracy that he has promised to deliver to the Nigerian people get delivered. Trust me, Uncle Yori, if everything was working well in Nigeria, I'll probably be in my office controlling the things that I'm doing in my office without necessarily worrying about who is the president, who is the vice president, who emerges as the governor, as long as they are going to stay in line with meeting up with the promises that they have made to the Nigerian people.
And are competent at their jobs. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ahmed Buhari, Vice Presidential Candidate, African Democratic Congress, for making time for us this morning. We really appreciate your time. All right. So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.
Real. They are the drama queens of Abuja.
If you're not real, you will be consumed, okay?
Stop calling me my mom joke. You're fucking at me.
We have an intruder in the house.
The meter of the disgrace is rising.
You're old.
Who said I need deliverance? Ha! Deliverance!
It wasn't me. She got me on the Wasn't me. Arafat pulled me aside for a chat. No.
The Real Housewives of Abuja, only on Showmax.
To watch this and other Showmax originals, simply add Showmax to your DSTV subscription using the My DSTV app.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Do you struggle with having an active and healthy lifestyle due to your busy schedule? Do you find it difficult to make it to the gym? You want to improve your overall health, but don't know where and how to start? Medical experts agree that walking, running, and jogging are